Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Rich Keller, who is the founder and CEO of Catalyst Branding Foundation SCORE. Rich, what I'm really excited about talking to you about is one of the questions I always ask at the end of my podcast is, not all of them, but a majority is, define yourself in one word.
Wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And so what I loved, booking agency reached out to me is, you're all about basically getting people and helping them, grow their own personal brand and narrow it down to one word. And so I love just the kind of the whole idea what you're doing.
Thank you.
We haven't even talked about the bandana yet, though. Are you a survivor? What type of survivor are you, or were you on the show? Were you on the show Survivor?
Well, that's usually the first question I get asked on a plane. The answer is no, although I tell some people I was, and then I tell them in the end I wasn't.
Yeah.
I am a cancer survivor, 26 years. I'm married to a 10-year survivor, but I actually wear these. I wear this.
What cancer did you have?
I had testicular cancer. My wife had breast cancer.
I had testicular cancer.
Oh, wow.
I'm 48, and I had it when I was 30, so 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was 26 when I had it, and I'm 53. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers to your health.
Yeah. Whole new level.
Yeah.
And I as a kid, I wore bandanas because I grew up invisible in my home, and people would notice me. And through therapy, I realized that was my way of standing out.
Yeah.
And then Survivor hit the show, and we're big fans. And I just started. I wear it all the time.
All right. Good. Yeah, I know it's in your LinkedIn profile and your profile picture.
Consistency.
Yeah. Right. Hey, if that's the hardest thing to teach people, right?
That's right.
Consistency is crazy. So
I always say, John, consistency breeds credibility.
100%. Yeah.
In this new world, if you say it again and again and again, and you're bored by it, that means it's working because your consumer is going to see it, 1 out of 1,000 times.
Right. I mean, well, you talk about, branding. I can speak for myself. Part of my brand, it always has been, it's come very easily to me, is my consistency. I can do something and be very consistent. And so I feel like maybe I may not be always the smartest person in the room, but I for sure will be if not one of the most consistent people in the room.
You bet. You're going to have a longer longevity. Branding is about longevity. You're going to be around a lot longer.
Yeah. Well said. And so let's talk about you. I'm happy that you're healthy and
thank you. Same here. Thank you
very much. And so talk to me about one word. So what I do is I'm giving you kind of the end of the story, but if you listen to my podcast, you hear some of it. I'll say, okay, let's go into a speed round, and then people think they're going to be kind of somewhat easy questions. And one of the questions I ask is define yourself in one word, and it really causes people to pause. But I want that conscious level of my podcast where people have to really focus and be present for a moment and kind of come up with that word that is in alignment with them.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about, getting people, crafting your personal brand in one word, less is always more. And I'm a big fan of that. What does that mean? Talk about how you get people there.
Yeah. So my whole goal is to help people to start thinking like a brand. I spent 25 years in corporate brand marketing at the Godivas, Crafts, Nabiscos of the world.
Yeah.
And I want people, we're all brands. If you own a phone, you're a brand. And as Jeff Bezos says, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
So for me, the reason I want people to start thinking like a brand does one thing really well. It gives away its what I call core value. Mm-hmm. to the world, because people buy brands to solve problems, and what you're buying, you're not buying the product, you're buying the core value.
Right.
And so when people want to build personal brands, I always try to, first of all, say to them, a personal brand is not about you. It's not about I, me, me, I. It's about tell people what you sell, the pixie dust. And I call that the core values, such that the audience, who are the heroes, are understanding what they're buying from you. You have to tell people what they're buying from you. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it from a core value perspective, like the brands you buy in a supermarket or the services you buy, all of a sudden the switch goes off in people's minds, because branding is emotional and you have to tell that story. And the story of what you sell is the credibility behind people believing that, in my case, I sell disruption. when you buy me, you're buying the catalyst ability to disrupt the way you think about what? Branding. I've chosen branding as my category to do that. And so for people that come to me, especially young entrepreneurs, I say to them all the time, you're the brand.
Yeah.
People miss the fact that the entrepreneur is the brand and people buy human connection. So what I do is I help them discover what they sell, and I just marry it to their venture. So they sell themselves and their venture at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you're talking about. I use some of the same vocabulary when it comes to branding. And another way I put it is you're also not only a brand, but you're also a product. Right?
That's right.
You're a product that people buy, and the brand really needs to resonate and create that emotional connection, like you're talking about, the human connection.
That's right.
So talk a little bit about the human connection and kind of tie it into the UX, right? The user experience, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I'll just give a really good example. I work with this one entrepreneurship brand called Next Gen. And the two guys that I met 3 years ago that invited me to speak at their conference, I had this aha moment at the conference where it was like, oh my God, these guys are the brand. Mm-hmm. Everybody is so captivated by what the two of them are doing on stage. And I felt like if they weren't running this summit, there would be nothing that weekend. And so after we were done, I went up to them and I said, I want to help you build your brand, because right now you have a one-day summit and I want to turn it into a 365-day brand. Yeah. And so from an experiential perspective, I worked with them, and what we discovered is that what the two of these guys sell is momentum. They sell momentum. They are the most momentous people you will ever meet. And so if you take that momentum and you put it into your venture, what they are selling is the ability for entrepreneurs to have the momentum to keep going and design the life they want to live.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, first they thought I was crazy, of course, because this is a different way to think. But when I was done with them and they put their story into their venture and they realized that, what, we're the entrepreneurs. We want freedom. We're the ones that are wanting the momentum to move forward. Once we married that and we started putting it out into the world and to their customer base, it was so seamless for people, because they were like, oh yeah, you do give me the resources, the community, the education, and the mentorship. And what I tell people is branding happens after you're done with the product. Branding happens, it's the so what in the product idea. So when they leave this brand and they keep going, they're going to come back for more because they need more gas. They need more fuel.
Right.
And so this idea, and I got this idea from the brands I worked on and the brands I studied in the real world, the billion-dollar brands out there like Spanx and Apple and Starbucks. They all do the same thing. They sell one thing. And what I tell people on stage as the best example is, people think Starbucks coffee is expensive, but you're not paying for the coffee. Right. The product drives community. It gets you in. You spend the day in Starbucks with the Wi-Fi and the barista and the comfortable chairs. You paid $6 for that.
Yeah.
And when I get people on stage to understand that, that's when they say to themselves, well, maybe I'm bigger than I really am, because I'm selling something that's valuable. It's not the product that you're selling, it's the core value that comes with it. And when you put it together like these two guys did, their business started to take off because consumers said, I need momentum. I do need that. And I want to come back for more.
So let's talk about that. I love, and I'm in full agreement and alignment with what you're talking about. And I want to talk about people's level of awareness. When, as a business coach, I find that, as people begin to uncover what you're talking about, as I'm working with them, as you're working with your people, then they're then able to kind of raise the frequency and vibration of the amount of people that they touch.
That's right.
But I think what gets in their way is they think what comes so easily to them couldn't possibly be a gift.
Right.
So recognizing what their gift is sometimes so simple, it's complicated. It's hidden in, if you want to hide something, they say hide it in plain sight. It's like right there, but they
100%.
can't see it because they think everybody has it.
That's
but everybody does have them. I'm a big believer. Everybody has that one special gift that you can monetize if done correctly.
So the reason I quit my career in the corporate world to help people and impact lives is because I didn't know who I was until I was in a trigger moment. When I had cancer, when my wife had cancer, when I lost 3 jobs throughout my career. And it was those moments where I was forced to introspect and learn about myself.
Yeah.
And what I do now is I try to inspire the young entrepreneurs and the next generation, like my kids. Don't wait for that trigger moment. To your point, discover that pixie dust, that core value, that magic that you have. And here's the thing that's really important. And I see it when I'm on stage. I tell people all the time that what you do is not who you are, but who you are should drive what you do. And when I get people that come to me, they let what they did drive who they are, like I did. I had my identity caught up in so many things about what I did. And when you work with me and you get to that moment, that's when the game changes. And I'm just trying to get people to not get to that trigger moment with a job loss and the pandemic right now. So that's where I find that we're on autopilot. We've been built that way. We graduate college. It's all about amassing things until you hit that wall. In some cases, like you and I, where we got sick. In other cases, it's just you have a breakdown, you lose your job. I want to get people before that. And that's why I want to hit this next generation. And I dedicated my next phase of my career to do that because I see the impact it's had on me at 50 when I figured out who I was.
Yeah. But I want to just dig a little bit deeper into that. Yeah. So the person who's listening to right now, the Think Community listener who's listening now or in the future, right? How do they say, wait, I'm really good at blank, right? I mean, and now how do they recognize what they're good at? Or how do they even know because I think most people don't know. And so how do they take the moment to pause, to take some executive time to reflect, to actually start to get some level of understanding? I'm a big believer. I'm a big meditator, and so to me, meditating, and even people who I talk to who don't meditate, they will say, I don't meditate, but when I'm in the shower, I get great ideas. You're in a very meditative state typically when you're showering. And so how do people find, I guess the question is, the space to figure this, to get the journey started?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously people that work with me and go through my program, I help them do that, but I'll give some examples on here. So for people that, just want to think about it.
Well, I'm also talking about people who need to even get to the space to even take your program.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think you literally take a step back and answer some of the following questions that are so easy that I throw out to people. Number one, what are you great at? Write down what you're great at. Number two, what makes you come alive? So many people think that the job can't be something that they're passionate about. I can't make money writing, really? So what makes you come alive? And then I ask people, what do people turn to you for advice for? And over the period of just and the last thing, if you really want to get to the heart of who you really are, ask 5 people to write a short paragraph about what makes you unique. Because one of the things we don't see in front of our eyes is those people are going to tell you exactly what your magic is. And when you take that and you take what makes you come alive, when you look at what you're great at, you can then start to find the commonality and start finding the link. When I'm done with people, this is not really grandiose where I'm going to give you a word that's just going to be supercalifragilistic. It's just taking the step back and saying, I'm good at X. I know that people come to me for Y. This is what makes me come alive. And if you marry all that together, I see a transformation when I just give that one word to people, because that gives them the power to then start thinking about, well, maybe I can go do something different.
Yeah. I love that. Let's talk about courage for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I love what you're talking about when it comes to, don't wait for the trigger moments when life throws you against a wall for you to realize, what you need to do. But I think for a lot of people, when they don't have that moment, to find the courage to actually dig deep inside themselves is really, really hard, right? And so how do you find the courage for that first step?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll say 2 things. Number one, there is no way I could do what I do today without a support system around me. And one of the things I thought growing up is that I could do it on my own. I don't need help. I don't need anyone. I know what I'm doing. And so what I say to people, and I'll say to every listener here, open up your mind and start getting a support system around you, because the people that fueled me and told me I was really good at my magic, I didn't understand it until people started really inspiring me about what I can go do.
Yeah.
Second thing I would say is, The number one thing I do with young entrepreneurs after they discover their one word is you have to know your purpose. Why are you getting up in the morning? Because when I figured out that I was getting up in the morning to help young adults reach their goals and dreams quicker than I did, that quicker than I did gave me the courage to say, what's the worst case scenario? I've planned. I have enough money. I was very methodical and intentional about, what I needed to do in order to take this new step in my world. And it's the courage comes when you start building the pillars. You get the people around you, you plan, you
Yeah.
make sure that you have enough money. And the truth is, the last piece is just get over yourself. I mean, I had a lot of people that gave it to me. A lot of my coaches said, you know what, Rich, stop talking and just start walking. And I just took one step at a time. And I had people next to me holding me and supporting me. And there's no magic formula to that other than, if you know who you are, get the people around you to give you that fuel. And that fuel has really helped me with my kids and my wife.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. That is solid guidance and advice. Let's talk for a minute about the score, right? So the test, the Rich Keller, strength finder, you came up with your new kind of course to help people find their one word. Tell everybody about the course and what's, what it is.
Yeah. It's a simple workbook. I gathered about 3 years ago after that conference I told you about. I gathered about 50 people, which is another thing. Go out and talk. People want to help you. Gathered 50 young adults, and I just started throwing questions out to them in mini focus groups, having a career in marketing. And I came up with the 9 most powerful questions that I believe when you answer them, and then you do a series of exercises where you circle words, you group words, you form names of the groups, and then you write at the end, literally one sentence. It's an I am sentence, and it is the power sentence that you could tell everyone about who you are. And then I challenge you to break it down to one word. And when we're done, I can't tell you the look on people's faces, and some people have cried because people just want to know their value and they want to know that they're confident and seen, heard, and valued. And this is a great way. Some people are resistant, but when they are done, they just feel like, wow, I do have value. I don't need a title. I don't need a school. Those are important, but those are not the defining factors for what people can go out there and do and create magic.
Yeah.
And it's a simple program. And when you leave my program, you get this workbook. You go back to that workbook. I tell people all the time, go back and read what you wrote. Read what other people said about you. That is the most powerful question in my program, is that people are blown away by their own. They have limiting beliefs they don't see. And now they read it and they're like, wow, I didn't realize I had that impact on someone. And that is connected to your core value.
Yeah.
And so, and then in the phase 2 of my program, if you're a young entrepreneur, I help you build that story, because you have to build your story. When you go out there, you can't just rely on your product, because someone's going to come in and undercut your product. But if you write your story in a way that connects emotionally and helps people win, that's when you insulate yourself.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Take me back. You're how old? 53?
I'm 53.
All right. So take me back to the seed in a 1-minute story, to the seed that planted that you knew you'd somehow be here today doing this business.
Yeah. I was getting a performance review at my last job. I was the head of a lingerie company, head of marketing. It was so poor. I decided at that moment I was going to drive my own car. I took the wheel, left on great terms, got home, and realized that moment, 2 years before that moment, I helped my son get into Cornell University by discovering who he was. And I realized he had no idea who he was at his core.
Yeah.
He found out his word was perseverance. He has made such strides in the last 3 years. And I had that moment right after I quit that I can go transform 1 million lives. And I started calling people, and everybody told me, I wanted people to say I was crazy. And people said, you're onto something. And just what I said before, the support, my wife, friends, mentors, therapists. I just got up one day and said, I'm going to go speak on stages, and I'm going to do as much free work as I can to get people to know me.
I love it. Good for you. Well, Rich, you're doing great. How can how can people get a hold of you and get into this class?
Yeah. So I just launched a podcast called The Catalyst Effect, and you can get it anywhere you watch podcasts, and it showcases all the people I've been working with, so you can really be inspired and join my movement. You can go to my website, therichkeller.com. I always say richkeller.com was taken, so I had to put the in front of it, and then LinkedIn. Rich Keller Catalyst. I tell everyone, put your one word as the first word on your LinkedIn profile. It will generate a conversation. I guarantee you. People ask me all the time, what does this word mean?
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, in the Oxford Dictionary, there's 273,000 head words, 171,476 of them being in the current use, 47,156 being obsolete words, and around 9,500 derivative words, and So to take all that, and I'm sure there's probably more words that aren't in the dictionary, I know there are, and narrow it down to one, that's pretty great. Now I'm going to take you through my speed round, and I'm going to ask you, Rich, define yourself in one word.
I'm going to say the word I always say. I'm wearing a catalyst.
I know, that's like right. I had to ask though, because I
no, please.
Favorite book and why?
Say that again.
Favorite book and why?
I am reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It has really changed my life.
Nice. Why has it changed your life?
It gave me context for why I'm doing the radical things that I'm doing, and driving my own car and being my own cheetah and not listening to the expectations of others. She's really helped me contextualize why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's called Untamed.
Untamed. You must read it. Every gentleman out there. Glennon Doyle. Glennon, Glennon Doyle, and every man should read this book as well.
All right. Great. And best piece of wisdom you ever received?
Best piece of wisdom that I ever received. I would just say, be yourself. I never really took that to heart until I started doing what I'm doing now. And I really am owning who I am. Be yourself. There's only one of you. There's only one of you. And that's why branding is so powerful.
So
only
powerful.
difference. Yep.
Advice you'd give somebody who just graduated college?
Oh, absolutely. Number one thing I say to all the people that come my way, be the guide and never the hero of your story. Branding is not about you. It's about giving away what you own, giving away your magic. And so if you're the guide and you go into the people's lives, the audience, you're going to be the biggest hero in the end. Be the guide, never the hero of your story.
Tell people how they can get a hold of you, Rich, all your contact information and all that other great stuff.
Yeah, so they can go to, therichkeller.com is my website. Go to LinkedIn and just type Rich Keller Catalyst. And like I said, I just launched a podcast. And if you want to be inspired by the people I've worked with, take a listen, The Catalyst Effect with Rich Keller.
Great. Well, I'm very grateful that you figured out you were a catalyst early on. I loved this conversation. I loved everything that we talked about.
Do you have a one word? Do you have a one word now that you ask people, what theirs is?
When people ask me my one word, the word that always resonates with me is kindness.
Nice.
I've taken all the personality tests, the DISC, the Strength Finder. I'm a maximizer. I'm a high I, all of that type of stuff. But, I'm in the business of helping people, helping them get unstuck.
Love it.
So I could go, maybe you'll have me on your podcast and I'll talk to you about, where that word comes from.
That's right.
I do a lot of things. I help businesses grow. I do a lot of training and keynotes and virtual keynotes and talks and one-on-one coaching all over the country. But I really help people stay consistent and get unstuck on a consistent basis.
Wow.
Kind of get in their own way. And I'm able to be a visionary and an integrator and really kind of help them continually get unstuck and grow their business, shift their mindset, and raise their vibration, their frequency, and just get deeper into their potential, one little piece at a time.
Yeah, selling that kindness is huge. You got to have people connect with you. The only way you're going to get it out of them is to feel comfortable with them. I love it. That's really great. Thank you.
Rich Keller, the Rich Keller. This was a pleasure, man. I appreciate
you for having me. Fellow survivor. Thank you. This is really cool. Really
Stay
cool.
Healthy, and this was a blast. I loved it. Let's stay connected, Rich.
You bet.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.